The visual, I would like to start with the text. And approach the bank. Vivek, when you see this and approach the bank, what comes to your mind?
And approach the bank, nothing. So she's in need of money.
Okay. So whenever you hear the word bank, what comes to your mind is about the bank, which is where we do financial transactions. That's how the bank is set into an associated machine. But that bank can be written. Why it's not coming to us? Because the bank here is an ambiguous word, but still we are referring it as the bank where we do financial transactions, because that's the way the context is set in our mind. So similarly, marketers use visual images to set the context in our mind to place their products in our associated machine. Say when you think about a soap, Lifebuoy may come up with a brilliant ad that places an associated machine so that you hear a word soap associated with Lifebuoy. So then now we are in the image economy. So all the products are competing on the advertisements. You might have seen the ads from Jaguar versus Mercedes and Pearl versus Munch. If you see, one day one company would come up with an ad, and the next day there would be another rival coming up with the same ad but in a different form. So who are the actors in this cultural production? One is the cultural producers and the products. How they are producing the products here? They take the cultural cues and symbols and signs from us and they build the products. And second one is the cultural intermediaries. They are the communicators, they are the marketers, who produce the advertisements and they show this is the meaning of this particular product. And third, you are the consumers. But here you see this is productive consumption. What is productive consumption? It seems contradictory. We are consuming as well as we are producing. We are consuming the goods, at the same time we are producing the identity by the consumption. So to understand it better in identity, as Amberesh shared in the presentation, we are buying the products because we don't, apart from functionality, we need the meaning that product generates. So that is the identity we are building. So if you see here, in Apple ad, says that you are more powerful than you think. Here there is a lady who is running, staying ahead from the man, and if you see the Statue of Liberty at the background. So it says that it's intentionally done, that culturally it's a sign that women are behind men. So it's now they are placing the women ahead of men with the Statue of Liberty at the back. Similarly, if you see the ads, what will their verse be? And the next term is like exploration and parenthood. We are living in a society, we have different facets. So the products they are showing is that, okay, you take our product. We have, if you are a parent, we have the product which serves best, so that you can be the best parent in the planet. So they are coming up with the ads like that. And next one. Here we have seen the two watch ads. One is the Rolex Explorer 2. Why am I buying this Rolex Explorer 2? Is it because am I going for an exploration? No. When I buy Rolex Explorer 2, I feel that I'm creating an identity that I am an explorer. I may not be. And similarly, the Omega George Clooney's choice. Here, strategically placed, George Clooney's choice. When you think about George Clooney, you think about Batman. You think about the several other movies he has acted. So when you buy this watch, you think that I am aligning myself, I am aligning my identity with George Clooney. That's why it's placed. So now, once you have built the identity, it's not enough, it's static. It is dynamic. 3 years back or 4 years back when I had iPhone 3G, people would think that I am tech savvy. I am an early adopter of the product. But if I have it 3G now, still I have it 3G, people would think that you are old there. You are like archaic. So now identity also needs to be updated. So
So, mission. Could we become number one without increasing the number of stores? We made an in-depth study into Koreans once more. Koreans are the second most hardworking people in the world. For them, grocery shopping once a week is a dreaded task. So we decided to approach these busy and tired people. Idea. With the store comes the people. We created virtual stores, hoping to blend into people's everyday lives. Our first try was subway stations. Although virtual, the displays were exactly the same as actual stores, from the display to the merchandise. Only one thing was different. You used smartphones to shop. Scan the QR code with your phone, and the product automatically lands in your online cart. When the online purchase is done, it will be delivered to your door right after you get home. People can relax more after work and on weekends.
실제로 보면서 사니까 진짜 더 좋은 것 같아요. 편하기도 하고.
Result. People can shop at Tesco Home Plus wherever they go without having to visit the actual.
So if you see the consumption pattern, when the retail store was opened in late 18th century, we went to the store, we touched the product and we bought it. That's the way the consumption was happening. Now the consumption has been completely changed. It has become virtual. So now see, what's the way forward? Shall we explain?
So this is one of the contemporary examples that Shyam has given. We'll give you two more examples. So the first step was to bringing the store to people in their everyday lives, wherever they go, to the subway station and all that. So the second, now the technology is progressing at a very fast pace. So the obvious next step would be to bring it to their homes. So what has already been done is that this is a 3D virtual mall that has been created.
Or production fees.
Let's look at the video that we have. So there's a 360-degree mall which has been created, which gives you the exact feel and experience of actually going to a mall and shopping. So once you enter the store online, what it shows you is as if you are walking through the mall in a 3D form, and then you go to a store and then you pick up a product and then you can purchase that product. So that is what has been done by one of the stores, one of the e-commerce companies in Australia. That is the virtual marketplace. And as a result of this virtual marketplace, since companies realize that there's a need for such a marketplace, so a few companies have come up with an idea where what they do is all the data that the company has, all the consumer data, the marketing data, they've come up with a value proposition for other companies who need to put this data in a very easily understandable form in terms of images. That is what the visual marketplace was. We're sorry we're not able to play the video, but that's an ad for such a company. So we today are surrounded by all kinds of images, and wherever we go, we are bombarded with a lot of images which are selling brands, which are selling products. So one form of marketing is the guerrilla marketing, where the companies actually, this is pretty low cost for companies. They come up with unconventional ways of bringing the brand or product to notice of the consumers. So a few of the examples would be the flash mobs and some creative hoardings like the one for ponds where they're actually talking about cleaning the pores, and they've actually made it in a very creative hoarding. And on buses and trucks you would see a lot of ads where you're probably waiting at bus stop for your next bus, and 2 or 3 buses go by, and you even though you're not consciously looking at them, probably they do register in your mind when they pass through. So what goes behind this marketing is that there's a lot of research which the companies do before actually deciding upon what to project and what to show to the consumers. So what they do is they actually understand this the subconscious of the customers and appeal to it. So here we have borrowed from the Maslow's 5 needs. We are not going into the hierarchy of the needs, we are just taking the 5 different kinds of needs and how they are addressed by different brands. So the basic physical need of the health is actually addressed by Maggie, where it says that age be healthy. It appeals to the, in their most recent ads, it appeals to the mothers and tells them that you can actually provide tasty food to your children while even taking care of their health. And then Volvo had come up with this campaign where they had very extensively, they had marketed that Volvo was one of the most safe cars that we could actually have. And there's actually a website where people come and give reviews that, you know, I mean, like, this is my opinion that this is actually one of the safest cars that I have driven. Then for the belonging need, Coke has come up with that sharing happiness, where they actually opened up a campaign where they asked people to share their Coke moments. And for self-esteem, like, so this, now we are moving more towards kind of luxury brands where actually they, where you can, as Shyam mentioned, that you can build your identity based on the association that you can do with the, that can be there with the brand, like Giorgio Armani. You don't have to actually say what you are, the brand speaks for you. And the self-actualization would be for the super luxury brands where, you know, I mean, like, you're not looking for the brand, you're not looking for the material or the product or the price of the product, you're actually buying a product for the experience. So they never sell you the product, they actually sell you the experience of experiencing that product. And this has a lot of implications in today's world. So we have taken just one example of how this is communicated to the consumers. So one of the ways it is communicated to the consumers is in terms of packaging of the products that is done. So what we have done, we have looked at packaging in a way that, see, when you think of packaging, the packaging purpose of it is to protect the product and to give information about the product in terms of what is written at the back and what is written at the front of the product. But what it actually is that it is used to actually guard your subconscious mind in terms of that how they package it, the design of it, the color of it. It actually attracts a particular kind of customers. So and what happens is the information part also, what a lot of companies do, as we can see in the slides, that they would give the information that they want to communicate to people in big fonts, and whatever important probably that they don't want the consumers to know about, they probably show it in small fonts. So we have just focused on colors for now for the packaging, we are not going into the design part. So for the colors, actually this is, L'Oreal has perfected the art of which colors to use in which products and how to actually market it to the customers. So this is an anti-dandruff shampoo. This is white in color. So what comes in your mind, why would they make an anti-dandruff shampoo white? And then this is a matrix, this is a brand of L'Oreal, and where they have shampoos and conditioners. And this is the whole natural range of products they have in white. So white actually would signify purity, cleanliness, new beginnings, and the matrix has also, their tagline is imagine all you can be. So they are actually asking you to reinvent yourself into something that you have always aspired to be, but you probably not are currently. So, and then we would have seen, I'm sure every guy here would have seen that most of your products would be in black or navy blue or dark colors. And so, same for Garnier, and they have, L'Oreal also has another ranges of products which comes in black color. So, why they do it is because black is generally associated with power, authority and control, which calls to men in general. But recently, they have come up with one full range of products in black for women, because they also wanted to, so now increasingly women are coming into the corporate world and they are equal as men, and they're seen as equal as men. So for all this, they have now come with black products for women also, and it also associates with kind of a class that gives to the users of the product. So this we have actually tried to go away from a bit from marketing and show that how it is in general life it could be used for positive purposes also. the colors would actually affect human behavior. That is, there's a study which has been done that how colors can affect human behavior. So there's a city in US where it has been tried, and they actually tried to make all the traffic lights blue. And what happened was the crime rate actually went down. And why this was is because blue color is generally associated with the trust, honesty, and reliability. So placebo effect is one more example of it. We are now actually going to how this communication is actually used to mislead the consumers. So this is a very blatant example of how a brand tried to do it. So the Kashi is a subsidiary of Kellogg's. What they actually did was they marketed extensively that they made all their products out of natural ingredients. But what actually happened was that it was found out that most of their products were actually made of processed ingredients. So there was a lawsuit that was filed against them. But what happens when a claim is not as blatant as this, and there's no legal action that can be taken against people? So there's the next example. Is of Dettol. So what Dettol says, Dettol, and then there are few, all the cleaning products, they would say, like Lysol also, all the cleaning products would say, we would kill our products kill 99.9% germs. What happens is they don't say that 99.9% germs is actually killed by most of the household products. It's not specific to their product. And what the 0.1% of germs actually end up causing most of the sickness in human beings. And so this last image actually, what this image actually says of the child that people are aware of the manipulation that is being done to them by the marketers. But the thing is that I don't know what they can do about it, but they are aware that marketers are actually playing with their minds while selling them the products. So the next one, yeah. So this, I'm sure everybody can guess which ad this is. So this is a well-renowned ads ad where without actually claiming anything, they managed to depict it really well that if you use a product, there will be a lot of girls, you can get a lot of girls. So this is the ads effect. So the form actually here is that, as I mentioned, and content obviously is that this is not going to happen. Everybody knows that this is not going to happen, and you won't get a girl just because you use a particular deodorant. But the thing is that this is how they market it to sell it to the customer. Then one more kind of a few years back, or a few decades back, most of the alcohol and cigarette brands were allowed to market. So since the time it has been banned, a lot of surrogate advertisement has happened. So here you would see on the left hand side there are two bottles of Tuborg. At first glance you would not actually realize too much difference between them. So what happens is the bottle which is on top was used to be marketed before. Now they market the bottle at the bottom. The difference is this is a non-alcoholic beverage. There is absolutely no difference in terms of the look of the bottle. But they are actually they get away with it because they are not actually selling the alcoholic beverage. And these are some examples of the brands which use the surrogates. So, no Saurav will take over.
So yeah, till now what we have spoken is visual, and I'll be talking about visual as well. So I'll first define what is advertising. For this sense, I would say that it is the official art of the capitalist society. Advertising is the official art of the capitalist society. Do you know that 2/3 of the stimuli which go in your brains, they actually go through the visual systems? You can argue that our thoughts don't have words, or they don't have a particular image, but the imagery part is more, it's more acceptable. And besides that, few facts I will throw is that first, that the 90% of our thinking is actually through our subconscious. The subconscious is actually the home of basically your creativity, your imagination, your intuition, and also your emotions. So it can be trained. So it has been the big players, Freud and other players, they have said that, the researchers have said basically that the subconscious, it can be trained, and it actually believes everything it receives. So these are the facts.
So according to the researchers who research on the hypnosis, they basically said that 90% of the information received is by the subconscious. It's 90% of the information received by the subconscious out of 100 times. So yeah, so I'll start with this image. So basically what I would like you guys to do is basically be participative. It is all imagery, it is all visual marketplace, so it has to be participative. So kindly look at this image. So look at this image. Okay. So I will ask only one question before beginning to explain this image. Is historically, you guys have to answer this. Historically, which has been the most attractive phenomena for a man? Historically. I actually want you guys to answer. It's women, it's sex. It's women, it's sex, isn't it? So yeah, so this complete part, what I am going to speak is about subliminal advertising. Subliminal advertising is basically, it is playing with your subconscious. It is injecting the most appealing things in your minds without you knowing it. So yeah, so this image is most highlighting part is the IMP, which is, it can be important, it can be imperial. But now look at both the images. The fingers, also that seer on her neck, basically on the neck, and also her fingers. So the middle finger, these fingers pointing at something, and that image. Okay, next image. Nice. It's actually this. So this is how they actually play. They plant the seed in your mind. So whatever happens, you don't know what's going on, but it is received by your subconscious, and it basically registers there. So it can be the name of the brand, any symbol for the brand or anything, but that brand is registered in your mind subconsciously. Yeah, this is the ad of the gin, a gin bottle. It's So kindly pay attention to this image. I really need your participation. So just think, don't answer. What is there? What is wrong with this image? Yeah. So what is wrong with this image is this. So these are big players in the market. Whatever they do, it's all being pre-planned. It's not something like it's coincidence or anything. It's all pre-planned. So that's how they play with your mind. Yeah. So Spirit Airlines, they actually started a campaign named MILF. Yeah, it strikes something in our mind. Yeah, they started with the MILF, and the full form of the MILF is basically more islands and no fare. And this is actually the images from an ad campaign or video, a TVC basically. The next one. Yeah. It comes here and then goes in. So this is how they plant the information which they actually want to plant in your head. This is also their ads. This is, if you take the initials, you know what it is. The get initials. And also this, they have been playing with the fair names. It is 18. It is one of the most popular categories in porn sites. So this is how they have been playing with it. It is not always sex. It is also about the death, the symbol of death. How they use the symbol of death in advertising. Because these are the few things which actually get registered very quickly in your mind, subconsciously. So, yeah, it is actually this. So, they are using the symbol of death for registering themselves in your mind. This is a religious art. Everything is religious about it, but again want you guys to focus on it. What's wrong with this image? Don't answer me, just think. What's wrong with this image? Everything has been wrong, but what's wrong with this image? Yeah, it's using the death symbol. It's using a death symbol. Many of you must have been thinking that this is not so obvious. We don't actually receive these things because it is all subconscious. If you knew what's going on, it would have been part of the subconscious. It would have been part of your conscious mind. So this image is also how cigarette brands. This is the Kent brand. How they use the subliminal technique to use to basically advertise their product. They've been also using the most popular phenomena within men, which is sex. This is also the women torso, the coffee brand using this. It is one of the most famous franchise in France. By the way. So this is a collage of an ad campaign by AT&T. So if you look at each of the images, you can actually see the bars raising. It's the only thing consistent is the bars. So what they actually meant? The larger it is, the stronger you are. Basically, they are giving it a masculine personality. So yeah, this is what they actually mean. So this is actually collage of their whole TV star. Next. This is the most famous, no, not most famous, but we know this is the Hyundai car, and the nameplate, the number plate there. Look at it. Now I know that you all are able to get what I'm trying to say. There is no suspense left. So what is it? Don't answer. Yeah, it is actually, you have to read it pull down. This is iX35. It was the most famous car during the early 2000s, and the sales figures actually they defeated their own record, which was the previous best from Hyundai. So what made it so popular? There are no hard facts about it, but our reason for its success would be this. And these are all pre-planned. This is very obvious. So this is a technique they actually use something out of the frame. It is not obvious. It is actually out of the frame. Brands like these also use. They've added that test there. This is the awakening. What you can see there on the right top corner. So we actually don't pay attention. Actually, we don't receive these things in our consciousness. So these were. I know this became all monotonous at the end, but it was all the same thing. But what actually these companies do, they actually use subliminal technique to actually get them registered in your minds. So the framework which we have come up with is that even consciously you can't do anything about your subconscious. So yeah, now Shalvi will brief you about it.
So one of the examples that was there in the slide where I showed you the picture of the kid where so somebody made that image actually accepting the fact that there's a lot of underhand marketing going on at the end of marketers, that we receive and we respond to it and we do go and buy those products. We actually can't do something about it, but there's a negative feel attached to it where you actually are not aware of it and you're not consciously taking those decisions and you're being made to take those decisions subconsciously. So that is what we haven't come up with any solution about it, because we don't know how, if at all there should be put an end to it or not, and how, if we should put an end to it, then how we should do it. But this is what we have come up with, that most of these happens all around us. Most of us are aware of it, probably consciously, subconsciously, but there's not much that we can do